Hello everybody and welcome to Project Trade. It is the Trading Highlights Show and we are looking to give a go at a technical trading strategy. And it is the infamous Awesome Mackerel strategy. You know the one. I probably don't need to explain it, but I better had to just in case. Two indicators shall dictate our entry signals. First in, we've got the Awesome Oscillator. It's a histogram with a zero line crossover that looks like this. We have made a judgment call decision to use the default settings of the indicator. So the indicator subtracts a 34-period simple moving average from a 5-period simple moving average. It uses the median price, that's the high plus low of the period, divided by 2, and the histogram then prints out the value, which is also the distance between those two moving averages. A fairly simplistic formula. Our second indicator will be the moving average convergence divergence indicator, that's the MACD. But here comes the profit. We're only going to be using the MACD line. Let's check out the MACD in full here, and what we're going to do is strip all of this back, and instead it will just be that blue line there. That is our MACD line. Again, we're going to be using the default inputs. This time it's calculated by taking a 26-period exponential moving average from a 12-period exponential moving average. Lots of moving averages being subtracted from other moving averages in this strategy. That's all the basic understanding of the indicators we need though. If you do want to learn more about either of them, we have done videos and they will be linked in the description. Moving in though, how are we actually going to use these indicators to get us onto the trades? Well, with the Awesome Oscillator, when the histogram bars are closed above 0, then we are only going to take buy signals, and when the histogram bars are closed below 0, then we're only going to take sell signals. This will hopefully help filter out a few of those bad trades, and you never know, maybe one or two of the good trades as well. Then for our MACD line, we are just going to take that simple zero line crossover as our entry signal. So when the MACD line closes above 0, we'll enter a buy trade, and when it closes below 0, we'll enter a sell trade. There will not be any candles for one indicator to catch up to the other for the entry signal. When the MACD line crosses the zero line, it is then or never for the trade. If the AO doesn't give the signal to go ahead, then we are out of it. Let's head to the money management because we are not going to run it on gut instinct, even though obviously I do feel that my gut instinct is really good, at least 49% of the time. Instead, we will get some help from the standard deviation indicator. What we will do is we will use the value that the standard deviation indicator gives us as a risk marker for our trades for both our stop loss and our take profit triggers. Here's what that standard deviation indicator looks like. It's a single line oscillator which is calculated by measuring the dispersion of price against a moving average within a given set of data. Basically, what are the size of the latest price moves? I won't go into any further detail now on how it's calculated, but there is a video on the indicator in the description if you want that more in-depth approach to it. For the purposes of our strategy, it's enough to know that we are going to be using the default 14-period input on a simple moving average for it, and you can see in the top left corner of the oscillator where it gives its value. Just so you've got an idea, here's a quick example of what the distance looks like with a 1.5 times standard deviation value used for both the stop loss and the take profit. Because it's 1.5 times standard deviation, we will multiply that figure of 0.829 by 1.5, which gives us a rounded figure of 1.24. With our entry price being at 1,763.15, it means our stop loss will be at 1,761.91 and our take profit at 1,764.39. So there is a bit of room either way for the trade without trying to allow it too much to get away from us. For this particular strategy, we are going to want to give our trades some flexibility. So we're going to split each trade into two sub-trades. So we'll set sub-trade A stop loss and take profit at 3 times the standard deviation value. And sub-trade B, we are also going to use a 3 times standard deviation stop loss, but it will be a trailing stop loss. Each of those sub-trades will then be loaded with a 0.5% capital risk, meaning that we have a 1% total capital risk on every trade we take. Another exit trick that we are going to use is that if the MACD line recrosses that 0 and closes, then we will exit our trade. And we'll do the same if the Awesome Oscillator closes across 0 too. So hopefully all these rules can keep our funds from evaporating entirely across the course of this strategy. Final bits then, we are actually going to use these indicators on different time frames. We'll be using the Awesome Oscillator on the 1 hour chart so we can get a longer feel of the flow of the market, but our MACD entry signals, they will be a bit faster paced on the 5-minute time frame. We are crossing our fingers that using that speedier time frame means that we'll be able to get at least a couple entry signals from each session we trade. And we're going to be playing this one on the gold chart, doing it for all those Peter Shilton fanboys out there. Those gloves were absolutely as good as gold. Gold for us is paired against the US dollar and it is represented with its element symbol AU. They then just stick an X in front of the AU part chart, so it's got 3 letters like the other currency pairs. Why an X? Probably because it's the coolest letter. Why else? Every trade here will be journaled so that we get a fair and accurate picture of the situation. Don't want to be trading a bad strategy for an entire lifetime just because you haven't actually been noticing it without logging it in a journal. I have heard a lot over the decades about the Awesome Mackerel strategy, and now it is finally time for us to give it our shot, to stand up and be counted for, and to put ourselves out there and into trading history. Let's give it a go. Here we are then, 2 gold charts pulled up. It's just about 9:45 in the morning now. On the left hand side we've got the 1 hour gold chart, which has got our awesome oscillator pulled up. That's showing a value above 0 at the moment, so it'll be buy signals only over on our 5-minute chart here with the MACD line pulled up. That MACD line is quite a way above the 0 line already, so at the moment we either need that to come down and as well get that awesome oscillator across. Seems unlikely as it's an hour long, but it is pretty close in terms of momentum to getting across. It's not way out like over here or something, but I think the more likely is if price comes down like it is right now, that MACD line heads down, gets across the 0 and then recrosses above. It can come down to here, bounce off a sort of support area, and then we could get back in on a buy trade with the recross. Certainly this candle looks promising right now for that. Let's check out the economic calendar, see what's going on around the world. Okay, so what have we had already? A few bits coming from Australia this morning. That big one, the house price index there, they've put it in green, so it must be a good thing. Yes, they've beat their expectations of a 4% quarterly increase in house prices, and they've actually got 6.7. Yeah, that's what a good thing that is. 5.4% previous quarter. Wow. What else we got? Registered unemployment rate in Sweden, 7.7% against 8.1 actual. Industrial production in Japan came out at 730 month on month. That was minus 1.5, and it was expected minus 1.5 with a previous of minus 1.5. Great consistency there. Although Japan, pretty industrial country, wouldn't want this to slip for too long, I'd imagine. 9 o'clock employment numbers coming out of the Great British Pound, which don't look too bad for them. Yes, the year-on-year average weekly earnings is down a little bit, 8.8 previous, 8.3 actual, but otherwise these don't look too bad. Unemployment rate 4.6% against a forecast of 4.7. Claimant count for unemployment benefits, they thought that was going to go up by 55,000 people, but it's dropped by 58,000 people. On the whole, pretty good jobs numbers for them. They won't be too disappointed with that. 9:30 in India, the wholesale price index year-on-year, 11.39%, even higher than the forecast of 10.59. Inflation over there has been rapid. But yeah, that was the Swiss PPI month on month there that had 0.7% against the forecast of 0.3. Not ideal for the producers there. When they see regular price increases like that, you often see that pass down the line to the consumer price index. Plenty still to come for us though. Not sure if too much of this is going to have an impact in the morning. CPI coming out 10 o'clock from Spain and 10:30 from Sweden. Neither of those going to have a roll-on effect, but it's inflation, it's the hot topic. Spain's expecting 0.4, Sweden expecting deflationary environment on their standard CPI, negative 0.2. I'd say that's optimistic. I bet they're going to get 0.3, 0.4. 3 o'clock services volume month on month in Brazil, might check out that. 3:30 from Canada, manufacturing sales month on month. That'll be something that we'll just happen to see because we are focused on this one right here. That is the CPI month on month coming out for the United States dollar, and they're expecting it coming in a little bit hot, 0.4%. No surprise there. Will it be more though? Will it come in even greater than that? They had 0.5% previous. If it's up at like a 0.7, 0.8, people aren't going to be happy, even if most of that ends up in used car sales and wedding dresses and things like that. It's still not ideal to see, but obviously that's the one to watch, and that one could have a genuine impact on the gold US dollar. Should see an increase in volatility and volume. Let's get back onto our charts. And as we said, price needs to come down, get that MACD line across the 0, and then have a reversal. Back up above it comes, and then in we are. Let's just wait for our next signal and for some of these economic numbers to come. And there is our first set of CPI numbers coming on the euro from Spain. And what do you know? A little bit more than expected, 0.5% actual against the 0.4 forecast. I think they would have wanted it to be a little bit under the 0.4, but nevertheless, they'll be happy they didn't spiral out of control with something like a 0.8. Now we'll wait for Sweden's at 10:30 to come through. Yep, and check the optimism from Sweden where they had that deflationary environment, negative 0.2 predicted, but it has come in at 0.5% month on month. I mean, how wrong can you be in a forecast? 0.7% out on a month on month. Year on year, they got 2.1 against 1.5. And it's another inflation number coming in higher than expected then. This one by quite a bit. But let's see here. This price comes back down. I wonder if that is purely because of this bit of divergence on the MACD line here. You can see the price at its peak there. And then when price makes a new peak, actually this MACD line has come down a little bit there. Could be seeing a bit of divergence there where this reverse and price comes. Let's get it towards that zero line. And after a few big sell-off periods here, quarter to 11, we have got a zero line crossover on the MACD. Can't take it obviously because that awesome oscillator still above zero here, so only buy signals for us. Does mean though we can now wait for that price to bounce from this level, hopefully come back up, don't continue this downward trend, come back up and then get across the zero and give us a buy trade which we can ride all the way up to this resistance level again. That's my prediction. Let's see what happens. Price continuing to come down though. We are seeing a few more red candles appear here, and that's pushing the MACD line lower, getting us further from that signal. As we've come over the hour a couple minutes ago, can't really see it. Let's try and zoom in and see if we can. You can't see it, but the awesome oscillator, it is showing a value now on the hourly chart, just ever so slightly below 0.007 there. Barely noticeable, but if it closes like that, that means we are then only in for sell signals, no buy signals. There is our confirmation then on the hourly chart from the awesome oscillator that it has closed below zero. That means on the MACD line, sell signals only now. Can't jump in on this trend though. Got to wait for an actual crossover to happen, so we need to come back up and then below. A bit of an awkward position for us at the moment. If we had been on this sell trade, you'd probably get in around about here. That would be going quite nicely so far. Possibly would have taken profit. But yeah, as is, the wait continues. Alright, another hour on. Not really any closer to a signal here. MACD line is starting to come back up as we see a nice green candle here. But we have seen those before on this run. And the downtrend has continued. This has really been all red this morning. You can see on the hourly chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If this one goes red, we'll have had 6 straight red hours. A couple of them pretty big there. We'll keep waiting for that signal and waiting for that US inflation at 3:30 as well, getting closer now. We had been seeing that MACD line come back up towards the zero, but now as you can see, last candle, very sharply red, and the same with this one now, it just keeps dropping, and so this MACD line is going to run away for a while now from that zero line, and we will be absolutely no close to an entry signal. You can see on the hourly chart as well, it's going to be another big red candle if this doesn't reverse quickly. 8 minutes until that candle closes and the New York Forex session begins. Been pretty volatile the last 30 minutes or so. Did bounce back from those giant dips there, but now it's come back down again. Not sure what it's going to do. We've got 45 seconds until these inflation numbers come in now for the US dollar. Already saw it come in over forecast in Spain on the euro and in Sweden on the krona. But we should see even more increased volatility at the initial release of the numbers. And look at that spike immediately on the chart. Gigantic. Let's zoom out because that's going to move quick. Yeah, we thought it was volatile last 30 minutes or so. Here's where it really kicks in. 0.4% forecast for the CPI and 0.3% for core CPI. Just seeing manufacturing sales there for Canada, by the way, coming in at negative 1.5 compared to a negative 0.2 forecast. So that's pretty poor for them. Brazilian services volume did come out. You can see that on their month-on-month at 3 o'clock. That was a beat on a negative 0.5 forecast. They got a 1.1, so that's pretty decent. Wow, and these numbers actually coming in a little light there. That is good news for the US dollar there. 0.3% actual CPI month-on-month. Again, compared to that 0.4% forecast, I think they'll be pretty pleased with that. Likewise, core CPI 0.1% against a 0.3% forecast. I certainly think economists will be happy to see this eased. On the chart though, we're still waiting for our signal. If we can get just 1 or 2 green candles like this, that will be enough to get that MACD line over, but we are also seeing the hourly chart come heavily with it as well. So that's going to make some green bars over time. Let's get it up and get it back over. And we can see the spike in volume here, almost touching that price there. Let's zoom in a bit. This volume is almost twice the level, if not at twice the level or more than that, compared to some of these previous volume candles. And just off that one candle alone, we do see, there it is, the MACD above zero. If it doesn't slam back down price, if it stays up there, it will close that way. Yeah, it does push to the green side there. Continuing to see quick ticks on this volume. There we go then, the MACD line does close above the zero, which does mean we can stay on the lookout now for the reverse crossover, getting us into a sell trade. Price has gone on a real run here for gold. Green candle after green candle now. Bit of a bull flag pattern happened there before this second run up, and you can see on the 1 hour chart just how much impact it has had. Since that CPI came out, the price has just been power move and power move. Still volatility and volume in the market, so it might come back down, but right now that MACD line way up in the stars. And it'll also be interesting to see just how much this awesome oscillator on the 1 hour chart pushes towards that zero line. It's going to be quite a bit. I don't think it'll be enough to tip it back across, but it could come close. Yeah, it definitely doesn't push it over the zero line. We can see now, let's zoom in a bit. There it is. It's still a ways to go, but likely could well get there unless price changes its course very soon. Not looking like we're going to get an entry signal. We could get stuck in this here where it crosses over that zero line, the awesome oscillator does, but then we're only allowed in buy trades, so once more we'd have to wait for it to come back down and cross over again. Okay, another on the hour update. Not too much has been happening. Price did take a big drop down and we did start seeing the MACD line head towards the zero, but now that seems like it could just be a retracement as some green candles come some more. You can see the awesome oscillator edging towards that zero line. Still only available for sell trades for us, so if this did come down quick, we would certainly get in on that. But at the moment, no signal. Looking at this chart now, we've just had a big run up over the last 40 minutes or so, in the last candle in particular. Brand new highs well into them. You can see on this hour chart, it really is going. It's going to push that awesome oscillator above zero again when we turn 6 o'clock in 20 minutes. And that's going to put us very far away from an entry signal. So we are going to wait until 6 o'clock just to see if that confirmation happens. If it does go above there, then we're going to finish the session there. And that is exactly what happens. A big reading showing now for the awesome oscillator. So it is going to be buy trades only for quite a while, which means it is going to take a long time for this to come down and back up. This is probably just a consolidation of a bigger bull run still. So that will be it for the session. Pretty disappointing in the sense that we were playing ping pong from where our 1 hour chart was compared to our 5 minute chart. Our 5 minute chart would drag the trend in, and then the 1 hour chart would be too far behind it. Both of these would have been probably quite nice. That downtrend there went for about 80 pips or so before the inflation numbers came in very clearly here. And if you were in, even if you were in here, it would have been definitely taking that up there, 93 pips. Unfortunately, the awesome oscillator did keep us out of those, but in general, nothing gained, nothing lost at least. That's it then. We'll hope for a trade or two in tomorrow's session. Nothing to review in the journal as there's no trades and this is day one, so that'll be it. Here we are back for session 2. Got our gold charts pulled up again as per normal. You can see over here on the hourly chart, this is exactly where the CPI hit. And this big run up since then, it's just slowly been drifting back down a little bit, which means if you look at the awesome oscillator, we're still well above zero, but for the last 10 or 12 hours, it has been red histogram bars, steadily coming down those stairs there. Hasn't reached the bottom yet though, which means buy trades are still in fashion. We've got a bit of green price movement going here the last few candles, turning that MACD line towards the zero line. That's all we need for a buy signal. So we may in fact actually get a trade today. But for now, let's check out our economic calendar and see what's been happening. Quite a bit busier than yesterday. We can't fit all of today's stuff on one screen. So I won't talk about everything, but we will just look at some of this stuff. New Zealand current account, less than forecast, -1 billion. Korean unemployment rate, 2.8% instead of forecast 4.1. That is good. China, a lot of misses on their yearly figures. So that's retail sales, industrial production, fixed asset investment, missing their targets on all of those for the yearly. Great British Pound at 9 o'clock, plenty of numbers coming out of there. PPI month on month, 0.4% against a 0.0% actual. Like a lot of the other European countries, Great Britain coming in higher than expected. And even worse on the CPI month on month, they were 0.7% actual, and they thought deflationary environments were going to come with a forecast of negative 0.1%. Again, this is really far out, 0.8% out, not in tune with the economy. Meanwhile, French expectations on CPI here, 9.45, they had 0.6%, and they got 0.6%, so they nailed it. And then same with the HICP over there, 0.7% forecast, and they got that 0.7%. Really strong forecasting on their CPI, definitely compared to Great Britain there. Well, that's what we've had then. Still to come, more CPI. We got 11 o'clock on the euro in Italy, CPI month on month, and HICPI month on month. 12 o'clock in the euro, industrial production month on month, wage costs year on year. 3 o'clock, the Indian trade balance. 3:30 Canadian CPI month on month. That'll be an interesting one to watch. And also we get the New York Fed Empire State Manufacturing Index. Some of these American ones there, they're more likely to have an impact on the gold US dollar, obviously, than these other ones. The European ones, interesting to us, but not actually going to affect the gold chart. 4:15 though, Fed industrial production month on month and year on year coming out of the US. So that might have an impact, but it's probably not enough. And then 5:30, the crude oil stocks change. Again, not really going to have an impact on us over on gold. If you are trading on oil, it's obviously a very volatile time, but we're not. We're trading gold. We can just get back on the chart, and hopefully we're seeing a green candle here, which is nice. So when this closes off at 15 seconds, hopefully it gets us that much closer towards that zero line. And there's that jump up. It's going to still take a while to get back up, probably 5 or 6 periods at least, and that's with a steady sort of run like this. But at least as for now, it is headed in the right direction. It came down pretty far though. So we're just going to wait for our technical signal to come at that zero line crossover. And we'll also take a look at some of these economic numbers as they fly in. The way it's going now, we are looking just a few periods away from that entry signal. Price continuing up a little bit. As long as we don't see any sharp drops like these red candles here, we should be good to go. There's that Italian CPI coming in 0.4% actual against 0.5% expected, so it's slightly under for them. They will be happy with that. And similarly on the HICP coming in 0.2% against 0.3% forecast. Good in the current climate to run a little bit cooler than expected, I would say. With a bit of a surge here, are we going to see when this candle closes? It's going to be close. Yeah, it is poking. Ooh, now it's not. So if this candle right now finishes green like that, there's a good chance it will be a close across the zero line. But if it finishes red as it is now, it's not going to cross over. And so it is going to close red here, which means we're not in just yet. We're going to need a couple more green candles. Could still not cross at all otherwise. We see the line there flattening on the MACD. Could very quickly turn. And it is another stiff red candle that turns that MACD line. It is pretty sensitive though, so we could still get the signal. So close though, so close. 11:35 now, just a couple periods after, and it has dropped sharply. It's going to test this support level down here. If it gets through it, well, we're already looking like we're going to be waiting a while now for the signal. Just gone 12:15. Price does look as if it wants to make a move up here, and we certainly want to see that happen. Not really been doing much the last 30-40 minutes or so, just trying to figure out what's next for it. We'd like to see that green come and get that buy signal before the Awesome Oscillator continues across that zero line. Should still have a bit of time for that, but that last period did steepen it a little bit from these candles over here. Across the Eurozone, we did get the industrial production month-on-month figures at 12 o'clock come out. They got a 1.5% actual. Should be happy with that, considering the forecast was negative 0.1 and the previous was also negative 0.1. That ramp up of 1.5% should be well received. Didn't get that wage cost year-on-year data come through. We'll keep looking out for it in case it eventually does. And we'll hope this signal comes. That candle has gone really green, and it looks like it is going to be an increase in volume as well. So if we can get 1 or 2 more of those, suddenly we are back in business and hopefully getting that signal. Price coming back off those highs a little bit though. We need another one of these green candles. That MACD line hasn't turned yet, so the momentum is still with us. But we need the boost, we need the volume, we need the big volume buy-in. Get us up there. And what do you know, you pray to the chart gods and you shall receive sometimes. Not that often, to be fair. But here it goes. We did get a nice green candle just off the back there. and this MACD is now pushed above the zero. If it closes like that, which has a high probability it will, without a very strong reversal, then we are going to be in the trade here. Okay, this entry looking all but certain now. Let's zoom in on our 5-minute gold chart here, and let's pull up that standard deviation indicator. There it is. Now the standard deviation indicator, it does jot around a little bit more than the ATR does. So we're going to have to decide on this now. So we'll go for, we'll go for in between those. So we'll go for 0.700 just to make it round like that. So we go 3 times standard deviation for our stop loss. So that's 2.1. That's 21 pips for each of our half trades. So you can see our risk calculated on screen now. And there's our 2 buy trades. Ever so slightly off from one another, as that price does move pretty quick, and it is moving a touch against us now, but let's plug this in here. So we're saying for one trade, 210 points to the stop loss, 21 pips, and same for the take profit. That's 3 times that standard deviation. There you see there, a good bit of room to move. If it can go up, that's right at the support level here. Be optimistic for that. And then over on this one, we can just set the stop loss now at the same 3 times standard deviation. And we can also set the trailing stop loss at 3 times standard deviation. So we'll try and manually trail this stop loss because it won't kick in until we actually get that far into profit. But we will look at doing a little bit of trading ourselves if it does get up here into profit. Long way to go, but at least we've got a signal now. So we either get a take profit, a stop loss, or either the MACD or the Awesome Oscillator reverses against us, causing us to manually close the trade. But for now, we are in and we are up a little bit as this runs into our favor. It's good to see. Price had just been ranging since our entry, but last period come down quite a bit. Sellers entering the market there. It's wiped out the price increase that initially got us into this trade to begin with, about halfway towards our stop loss now. So for that reversal. Has come back up closer to our entry price now, still ranging though, getting just a little bit positive there for a second. That's what we want to see. Get up there, get going. This does look like a bit of a wedge pattern here where it's making those higher lows there to there, and it's hitting this same resistance level, but we could well see a breakout to the north there. That's what we're optimistic for anyway. We're seeing price move pretty nicely to our favor here, or it certainly had done. It's coming back there, but I'm going to trail this stop loss a bit further forward. So instead of 210, we're going to reduce it by 1/3 for now, which is 140 points. So that's absolutely fine. We've still got our trailing stop loss on there at 210 points. That will kick in up here if we're lucky enough to get there. Really strange last few periods in price. It came all the way down here with this big red candle and then immediately reversed that with a green candle, only to come back once again into the red. And now we are looking like we are going to get these losses from this candle. Who knows though? This could easily turn straight around, give us another one of those green candles right there, and we're at the profit. Pretty erratic, but this is why it's nice to have that wider stop loss, because you're not going to get knocked out by silly price moves like this. So far it's okay. Just gone 3 o'clock then, the New York Forex session opens. Still hovering around our price here. It really hasn't moved since we got in over here. Let's just double check our Awesome Oscillator. Yeah, histogram bar is still coming down, but they very much slowed and it's still well above zero. So we're absolutely fine to be in the trade, especially with the MACD line still above zero also. So we'll continue to wait as this ranges around our entry. It's quite a boost here. Looks like the buyers do want to push this to our take profit. We're going to have a look at this trailing stop loss anyway, just in case it doesn't. And we are going to drop that now. It has triggered. In fact, the trailing stop loss has moved into action there. So we are in guaranteed profit right now. The open of the New York session comes. People keen for gold. Pushed up we go. And there you can see one of our trades taking. Right now it's the peak. Hopefully it becomes higher than that, so our trailing stop loss can come up all that way. And that's the trade there, $52 in the bank. So that is an extra 0.5% on our $10,000 capital. Really elated with that, especially since now it looks like it might come back down a bit, but very volatile. We will keep watching this and we will keep watching our trailing stop loss. Price is coming down pretty strongly there, very close to our trailing stop loss. There was a bit of a flash in the pan high there. Whether it's going to come back enough to trigger that, we will see. Price has come back to the good though, and it looks very close to pushing our trailing stop loss a little bit higher, guaranteeing us that much more profit. Price is really making a move of it here, and so too is our trailing stop loss. Bumps up again a little bit there. What a candle here. This buying pressure keeps on coming in. It's just perfect here. Stop loss again bumping up, very much nearing our take profit level of the first sub trade. This is all in one candle. If it came back to its low, it would in fact trigger the stop loss, but buyers are really enjoying this run right now, and we're in it with them. And we are in that spot now where if our trailing stop loss triggered exactly where it was, we would still make more profit than we did on our first sub trade. And here it does actually come down as if it's going to threaten that stop loss there. This is on the release of the New York Fed Empire State Manufacturing Index numbers, and also Canadian CPI month on month coming out as well. Anyone who wanted those wage costs from the Eurozone year on year, they did finally come through. It was negative 0.4 against forecasts of 3.5. Pretty poor for them. And also we had India's trade balance at 3 o'clock. That came in negative 13, well, near enough negative 14 billion against a forecast of almost negative 6 billion. It's not great for them there. They haven't been having the best numbers coming out of India on the rupee. Still though, we're really in the heat of the day now. There it goes though. That is the trading stop loss gone, and had to end up yet a little bit better. About 10% more profits that we eked out from that trading stop loss. Not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it can certainly add up. No commissions, no swaps, so pretty good there, more than 1%. Even if we got into a new trend now that was a complete 1% loss for us, we'd still be up by a very minute amount. Happy days on that trade though. Let's get back on the dual chart. We can see, again, clearly only buy trades. This has gone up quite a bit the last hour or so, coming back down now. It's likely that if price came down with a strong force behind it, the MACD line is going to cross before the Awesome Oscillator does. But we'll see. So far, so good. Canadian CPI month on month, pretty nice for them, especially compared to the Great British numbers we've seen this morning. They have a 0.2% actual, which does match the forecast of 0.2%. I'm sure they'll be pleased with that compared to the 0.6 previous. And the same with the core CPI there for them, 0.2% actual against 0.2% forecast. We've also got these New York Fed Empire State Manufacturing Index numbers coming through. This is where they're surveyed in the New York area about how they feel about manufacturing business conditions at the moment. They've given an actual of 34.3, above the forecast of 30.5, and plenty above the previous of 18.3. It's good signs. As we see on this 5-minute chart, wow, the price comes all the way back up from where our stop loss was there. Really quick movement. But hey, with a move like that, we never know exactly where it's going to end up. Pretty good to take some profits where we did. But in terms of the economic calendar, next up we got 4:15 Fed industrial production month on month and year on year. Month on month is forecast to be flat. I think they'll be looking to beat that. And that's about the last one that should affect us really for the day. There's not going to be any impact from this oil stock exchange onto us. Although it is obviously super interesting if you are trading on the oil. Don't know if we will get another signal from the day. We're pretty happy with what we've had so far. But we will stick around for a bit to see those results and see just in case we do get an entry. You never know. And we are seeing a heck of a sell-off here. Look at these red candles, particularly this last one. Real nosedive. That MACD line is going to close well across the zero. That signal is not ours for the taking because the Awesome Oscillator is still above zero, as we know. But you can really see the impact it's having here. That downward pressure wiping out a lot of these gains so far that came yesterday from the CPI numbers. So gold struggling now. And there, unsurprisingly, the MACD does make its close far below the zero line. That means we are now looking at this reverse crossover to see if it can come above zero. But 4 o'clock, we'll see how much this Awesome Oscillator suddenly gets pulled down. 4 o'clock, and we do see quite a drag on the Awesome Oscillator, not below zero though, still a way to go for that. 4:30 now, price not doing much, just been ranging the last 20 minutes or so. We did get those Fed industrial production month-on-month numbers from the US. 0.4% actual against a flat forecast of 0.0. It's good to see, nice improvement on industrial production. But the year-on-year did miss its forecast of 8.3, only pulling in a 5.9. As you can see, the MACD line slowly moving up, but price, if it comes back down, it will drag that line with it. No clear sign of when we're going to get a signal at the moment. This is likely to come down at 5 o'clock more, the Awesome Oscillator there. Just over an hour on now, it's coming up to 20 to 6, and we can see those crude oil stock exchange numbers. Minus 6.4 million actual against minus 1.8 forecast. But if we look at the charts, we're seeing price come down again. It's just found new lows in these new candles here. The MACD line nowhere near the zero. It does look as though the Awesome Oscillator hourly chart is going to cross over that zero line in 20 minutes at 6 o'clock now. So on that basis, it will likely take us a very long time to get into a trade. We are going to call that the end of the session. We are pretty happy with the trade that we did get, which is right there. Happy enough with it that we will be back trading this strategy again for a third session tomorrow. Here we are back for session 3. It is almost 10:30. And we did actually miss a session yesterday. And what a session it was by the looks of the hourly chart. We see here that was 5 o'clock in the morning yesterday. And then by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it had dropped almost 3% there, 2.8% thereabouts. Awesome Oscillator obviously went on a nosedive, has been recovering then the price and the Awesome Oscillator, but still not enough to get that Awesome Oscillator back above zero, which means we are still sell trades. But if this green price momentum continues, we'd be very likely to see a switch over there. What about on the 5-minute chart? MACD line currently above zero, so that means if we see it come downwards, we will get a sell signal. However, if the MACD line remains above zero and the Awesome Oscillator manages to switch above that zero, we suddenly feel very far from getting an entry signal. Still though, that's a potential future, and for now, we'll just watch out for the sell trades going below the zero line. Let's see our economic calendar and see if there's going to be any obstructions for us today. Not a huge amount on. We did have 1:30 this morning, the Business New Zealand Manufacturing Index there, coming in 40.1 actual against a forecast of 61.8 and a 62.2 previous. Pretty poor numbers for the business conditions over there. And then 9 o'clock on the Great British Pound, quite a lot of retail sales and core retail sales numbers coming in. So retail sales month on month coming in at -0.9 against a forecast of -0.5 and a previous of 2.8. The year on year for those came in flat against the forecast of 7.3, so pretty disappointing there. On the core retail sales, it was an actual of -1.2 for the month on month against forecast of 0.2. So they thought it was going to be a little bit of growth, but still not coming for them there yet. But better than the previous of -3.2. And the year on year for that was -0.9 against forecast of 13.7. So pretty far out on that one, and I'm sure they'll be disappointed with those numbers over there. That's what we've had so far. From the Bundesbank Executive Board at 11:10, we have got Dr. Sabine Mordera making a speech. She makes quite a few speeches. We're not really interested. It's not going to affect our chart, that's for sure. 12 o'clock, an interesting one coming in though. Eurozone as a whole, CPI and core CPI. They've got the CPI forecast at 0.4%. We've seen some of the individual countries this month coming in more than expected. I think we've seen more countries that were above the forecast than below it. So I'm thinking this Eurozone might come in at 0.5, 0.6. I imagine they'd be quite frustrated if they were far out with something like a 0.8 coming through. That would be less than optimal. And that's it for the morning. Afternoon, not a lot going on there either. 5 o'clock from the US dollar, we got the Michigan Consumer Sentiment. These are the surveys where we find out how the consumers feel about the economy. We see a few from the businesses and that sort of sector, which makes sense, producers and manufacturers and the like. But now we see how the end customer is feeling. When they go to the shelves to buy out their Beanie Babies, what are they thinking? We'll find out how optimistic they are. It's forecast at a 66.7 for the sentiment and a 66.9 for the expectations. Those two, though, are unlikely to have an impact on the gold chart, even though we are trading against the US dollar. Just doesn't seem probable to me. Last thing on will be the Baker Hughes US oil rig count at 8 o'clock. Don't think we'll be seeing that, but you never know. Unless we forget that it is actually quadruple witching day today as well. So in the stock world, there's a bunch of index futures and index options, etc. that will expire all at the same time today. So it doesn't necessarily mean that price of stocks is going to go one way or another. It just means there's a higher likelihood of seeing volatility out there, which might spill over to our gold chart. You never know, maybe all those options expire and people suddenly rush into gold now that they've freed up some capital there. Or maybe they sell all their gold, all the tons of gold they've got in their vaults. Maybe they just get rid of that so they can cover all the losses on the stock options and futures. Don't know, but we will find out throughout the day. And as we go back onto our technical chart, we see we're just still waiting for that zero line crossover now. Could well come with a couple of red candles, though the MACD line is headed in the right direction. And I will check back in when something of interest is happening. Maybe if this price drops a little bit more. And as we come to the close of this period here, we could see on the 5-minute chart that this MACD line crosses over the zero line. We're not going to enter immediately if it does, but if it closes, and it's going to be closest to whether it does or not, Looks like it's going to be one of those times where if the candle finishes green, the MACD line will finish above zero. But if we see a red candle, it'll be below that zero line. And that's what will put us in the sell trade. Let's see in the next few minutes if we get that signal. Does look as though we are going to get this close here. That MACD line below zero could still return. But let's pull up the standard deviation as we want to be prepared. Currently flipping up and down. Actually, it's paused there a good second there. So let's go for 1.03. And remember, we're using 3 times standard deviation for our stop loss and take profit. All right, there's our risk on screen now. And we're in those 2 sell trades there. Absolutely nailed it as well in terms of getting them in at the same price. Starting to come down a bit there on the chart. Let's set out stop loss and take profit. This stop loss here, we can call that 309. And we can also call the take profit 309. And then sub trade B, we can call that 309. And we can also set a trailing stop loss at 309 as well. So it's custom and 309. There we go. So we'll have to manually trail it if we do get price go in our favor a little bit. And that's our trade though. There comes the green candle. So suddenly not looking like a good entry for us. Plenty of time to go though, hopefully. Not looking great on our trade as we do see prices pulled back quite sharply from when we entered there. It looked nice for a moment. Since then, mostly green candles. I was hoping that this would be a sort of shooting star candle, which would signal a clear reversal coming, and down we go. But unfortunately, since then, another green candle has come, and we're looking at green again. So we're just about halfway towards our stop loss. Makes our take profit feel very far away out there now. That is a long way to go. And we're also seeing the MACD line start to hook upwards a bit there. Right, so if we see a couple more green candles, but our stop loss doesn't trigger, as I said, we could be manually closing the trade out because this immediately sweeps upward anyway. We want a couple more candles, just like these ones, 10-minute big sell-off, get us into profit at least, and get that MACD line away from recrossing there. This is not looking good here as it does dash towards our stop loss. Even if it doesn't get there in the next couple minutes or so, we're going to see that MACD line cross over the zero at half past. Seems very likely now. Those buyers entering the market, it's getting very close to our stop loss there. Does come back down a bit by the close of the candle though, and we're actually not seeing the MACD crossover just yet. I mean, we might do if this finishes heavily green. It does push once more. And there does go the stop loss. What a run up that was for price. We did get in pretty close to the bottom there. That's the lowest close that there is. And then it comes straight back up there. We weren't in it for too long. That's 3 times standard deviation there. And there's the losses on those, $49 on each of them. So $98.88 total. Didn't have a chance to trail our stop loss at all. So it's just a maximum loss there. Yeah, that bump up in price looking to continue here. This is getting highly volatile at 11:38 a.m. Price shunting up a big way. Suddenly that stop loss looking like a blessing right there. Just coming into 12 o'clock now, and it does look as though that price move to the north is going to be sustained. It's breached through resistance level around about here. Yeah, look at that push, even more there into new highs. And now we are just waiting on those CPI numbers coming in from the Eurozone. And there's the numbers then. We got the CPI month on month coming in at 0.4% actual, which was the exact forecast and the exact previous. And the core CPI month on month spot on, again 0.3% actual against 0.3% forecast. We do get a weird reading on the CPI excluding tobacco month on month at a 0.4 actual against negative 0.4 forecast. I don't think they would have actually forecast negative 0.4. That seems like an error to me, that tobacco would knock it out by that much. Weird that they even do it without just tobacco. So the Eurozone will be pleased to hit their forecast there though on the CPI and core CPI. So yeah, no major impact from that, and we just go back on the chart to see price where it's come back down from that high there. So I wonder if we'll get a reversal. We can see that awesome oscillator. It is closing in on the zero line. But for now, if price did shoot down, we are still open to sell trades, although it will take a few sharp red periods to bring that MACD line now. Momentum clearly going to be to the upside. Price over the last hour or so, mostly just ranging here, has made a move over the last 10-15 minutes, but that is to the upside again. So if anything, that would drag the MACD line higher and further away from a signal for us. No economic numbers now until 5 o'clock, so a few hours until that. Last few periods though, now it has come down and it went back into the range, and in fact now is reaching lows beneath that range. So we could be seeing A zero line crossover coming. We have still got that awesome oscillator below zero. Price still coming down, and we are edging very close to that MACD line now, just a period or two away. Price actually coming down enough in this period that right now the MACD line has actually crossed zero. Better pull up our standard deviation just in case this is going to finish like this. It's very close. So I think it looks like we'll go for 1.04 on our standard deviation if this does close, and it is ever so slightly edging there. Are we going to get it? This is going to go right down to the wire. Either way, this entry position is not going to be that great this candle or the next. Right now, it is one under 0.002 now. Oh, it's definitely dropped now. So we've got 5 seconds. This looks like it's going to finish there quite comfortably under in the end. Yeah, there we go. Our standard deviation did spike quite a bit there. What's that? Okay, so we'll call it 1.15, which is 3.45 for 3 times that to our stop loss. Oof. Going to have to just about round that up. Let's zoom in on the 5-minute chart just to get our trade in here. And so going with 2 sell trades here. And so there they are. We did get in at the same price there. So let's get the stop loss and take profit on. We'll go 345 points for each of them on this trade here. You can just about see that there. Don't know if I feel great about this entry position, as we've seen a lot of momentum come, but we've got to follow the system. Already this MACD line is looking a bit more certain than that one did, but the pull up can happen at a moment's notice. Let's do sub trade B, and same here. We'll go 345, and then we'll set that trailing stop loss here at 345. We'll just hope that people keep selling off their gold. Something I will say for the standard deviation indicator, you can see how much it chops compared to the average true range if you were doing the same sort of thing, saying 3 times ATR. The standard deviation, until this candle started dropping down here, it was about 1.03 that we were going to go for in our risk, and then it suddenly jumped all the way after that candle to 1.23. So we sort of looked on here and said, okay, well, let's kind of go between that and go for 1.15. You sometimes have to make those snap decisions. You're not always going to get it exactly there. If we do line it up with this candle right here and go there, it comes out 1.09 there, so not too much difference. But this is good though. We want it to keep coming down. It is going in our direction now. We'll manually trail this stop loss a little bit if it gets more in our favor. Now we just got to be patient and see. The clock strikes 2. Let's just have a look at our awesome oscillator and make sure we are all good, and we certainly are. Didn't know if the last 10-15 periods or so would be enough to bring this to a red candle, but not quite. Still all good though, so we'll check back in on the awesome oscillator at 3 o'clock, see if there's any difference there. But for now, we've made it forward about 119 pips or so, so I'm going to trail this stop loss on our sub trade B manually just forward 1/3, so that'll be to 230 points now. We'll see that jump to there. Here comes the sellers. This is a really nice run for us, exactly what we want to see. Biggest red candle on the screen right now, and it's come at the perfect time. Let's trail this stop loss forward a little bit more. Now let's go 1/3 further, so we won't have to actually manually trail that anymore if this take profit triggers down here, which it's looking like pretty good at the moment, like it could well do. Then at the same time, the trailing stop loss will kick in automatically, and then that will be able to run by itself from that point. So let's hope that can trigger, and then we get some guaranteed profit on the go, making back some of these losses from down here. This was a true reversal against us, and we got out of it early, but here we go, green candle coming, not what we want to see. Couldn't catch that take profit though, and 20 minutes on now, price coming back up a bit. It's just ranging in between our entry price and the take profit level. Not a lot been going on the last 3 periods. Here comes those sellers though now, getting very close to this take profit, new lows. Let's have it push on a little bit more. And there we go, there's the take profit, does trigger, and our trading stop loss bumps forward. Fantastic stuff. Price keeps coming down, or back up it comes now, but we are in guaranteed profit. That is exactly what we want. Perfect stuff. $51.90 there for us. No commission, no swap once again. Even now, if price was to come back all the way to our entry price and trigger that stop loss 3 times standard deviations back, we would still have made guaranteed profit of those $51 right there. So what we want to see, we like it. Now let's wait out, see if we can get any more from this trading stop loss. 3 p.m. now, and we have managed to get a little bit more out of this trading stop loss, but price is coming back up now. Let's just check in on our awesome oscillator. Yeah, it has printed another green histogram bar there, but it's still well below the 0 line. Let's get back in on the 5-minute chart. So far a resounding success. Here comes a big green candle though. Buyers are stepping into the market there, beginning to threaten our stop loss a little bit. And it does in fact trigger that stop loss as well. Wow, we were really profitable there, and then in the space of one candle, not even the whole of the candle, price with a big run up there. It's backed off now, interestingly. Still though, managed to take some profits. Let's have a look at that. $15.60 in the end, not as much as we would have liked. We weren't able to get back all of the losses from our previous trade this morning. Still though, good to at least get some of it back. Let's see what happens with price now. Is it going to come all the way back down over the next couple of candles and continue that overall red trend? Or was this an excellent stop loss in the grand scheme of things? We'll find out. Well, it had looked pretty good to get out of the trade here because we saw price continue to run up to this high there. But look at this last red candle. What a drop. Almost back down to the lows here again. We're feeling pretty sad right now that we're not still in this trade. They saw us coming, they saw our stop loss, and they said, hey, let's buy up some gold, let's get that kid out of the way, and let's start selling off again. So I do feel like we're missing out on some good profits here, but nevertheless, we took some when we could. As it just turns over 4 o'clock, we do see for the first time in a very long while, the Awesome Oscillator on the hourly chart prints a red histogram bar. This continued sell-off pressure has turned it downwards again. And we really have missed a good chunk of this run because of that retracement there. Never mind, it'll come again. Price had found new lows there, but making a bit of a bounce back the last couple periods. Could continue to come higher here. Buyers stepping in at 17.50. Would make sense as a psychological price level. Certainly wouldn't surprise me if the sell-off continued either though. No idea what's going to happen. Spin the wheel. Price in a bit of a volatile range these last few periods, and we can see the slight increase in volume. 4:30, that was when the stock market opened. That quadruple witching. Nowhere near to any entry signal for us there at the moment. Price now potentially breaking to the upside. This volatile range though, don't know which way it's going to go at all. Right now it looks like upside, but previously it looked like downside, so who knows. But we have got those Michigan consumer sentiment and expectations through. That was just a few moments ago. And so we get a 71 actual on the sentiment against a 66.7 forecast. And in the expectations, a 67.1 actual with a 66.9 forecast. A little bit of a beat on those, which is always positive to see. Central banks will like to know that consumers aren't panicking, thinking that things are melting down. And there you see it, right back into the range. Looked for a second like it was going to break out right up there, found a good high. But nope, last two periods brings it back down again. 6:05 in the evening now, and price has barely budged off this 1750 level. There is still quite a bit of volume in the market. It has been dipping off, but you can see this has been very volatile, up and down, no money to be made in that range at all. And as we're still not very close to an entry signal, we are going to call that at the end of this session, but we will be back for another couple sessions at the start of next week. Just starting off session 4 here after 10:30 now. Let's have a look at our hourly gold chart on the left hand side here. Zoom in on that. Our Awesome Oscillator currently below zero, which means sell signals for us. Price had that big drop off last week, did recover a bit, came back down, and now very much in a ranging frame of mind. So we will be looking for that breakout. How about another one of these? Wouldn't mind that. Meanwhile, on the 5-minute chart, we've currently got the MACD line above the zero, which means if it crosses below, and this Awesome Oscillator is still below zero, that's where we'll be entering. Better keep an eye out for that entry signal. Price could come down here. There's potential for these to become lower highs and lower highs. But what is on the calendar today? Let's have a look. Not too much. Quite a few holidays going on in East Asia. So in China, happy Mid-Autumn Festival. In Japan, happy Respect for the Age Day. That's good. It's good you can get it all out of the way in one day, right? Just breeze through it, and then the other 364 days of the year, don't worry about any respect for the elderly. Smart, smart. And in Korea, happy Chuseok Day, which I think is also like a autumn festival. Figures-wise, what have we had? End of last week, the Business New Zealand Manufacturing Index came in. Now we've got the Services Index. So how does the service sector feel about business right now? They answered their surveys, and it was not very good. There wasn't a forecast on it, but we can see the previous was 55.9, and the actual came in at 35.6. So quite a decrease there. Bit of a loss of confidence in current business conditions in New Zealand. Hopefully they can bounce back. PPI over in Germany on the Eurozone came in at 9 o'clock. It was forecast at 1.2%, already pretty high on the forecast with a 1.9 previous. and now we are seeing an actual of 1.5. So couldn't beat the forecast, couldn't keep it under control. The price index of the producers currently not looking too good. They will be looking to bring that down, I would imagine, in the coming months in Germany. Although if they were really keen to bring it down, obviously they would raise interest rates, so that option is always there. There's not really anything that's going to have much of an impact on us throughout the day. We've got 11 o'clock trade balance on the euro. That's going to do absolutely nothing. And then no numbers until 2 o'clock from Mexico. We've got private spending quarterly. Again, it's not going to shake gold even in the slightest. And then 2:30, that Brazilian central bank focused market report out weekly every Monday. And that's it for the actual numbers. That is everything. The only other thing on the calendar is you've got Isabel Schnabel making a speech at 2:35 and then immediately dashing over and starting a speech at 2:50. So she's got back-to-back speeches there. That's a busy 15 minutes for her. Okay. So not a lot for us to worry about there, which means we can get back on these charts here and keep an eye on the MACD line. Still coming down a little bit, but price is turning green in this period, about to close in 10 seconds. And all we've got to do now is just wait and see if that signal does come. See an even bigger green candle that formed there. It's getting up to that resistance level. Something I forgot to say with the economic calendar, it's obviously not on here, but it is the Canadian federal election today. I'm wishing luck in exactly equal amounts to all parties. Very unbiased here, very unbiased. Price continuing to come up a little bit. It's just reaching new highs as this new period starts. Moving up quite a bit now, actually. Doesn't get us any close to a signal. If anything, it gets this awesome oscillator on the hourly chart closer to crossing zero. And then we obviously need that recross then to be able to get in. We did have the trade balance for Spain coming in worse than expected, nearly negative 1.6 billion compared to a forecast of 0.3 billion and a previous of negative 0.97 billion. So not the best for them. They were hoping it was going to get better, but actually it got worse, as we do see price coming back down a little bit now. We haven't seen the MACD line really stretching into new highs as of lately. So it only takes a few good red candles to get us across that zero line. We'll see where the awesome oscillator is at 12 o'clock. Price really been going up the last few periods and looks like it's going to again in this one. Now we see that MACD line on the move has comfortably moved into new highs. And over on the hourly chart, we see that awesome oscillator climbing right towards that zero line crossover. If we see a couple more green candles, that will cross over then. Still an if though. Another hour has rolled on by. Price moved up and then has ranged for a little bit. That MACD line is still very high above zero. And on the hourly chart, this new candle here, you can't see the histogram bar barely, but it is just underneath. So if we see a sizable green candle, that'll cross this period. But for now, we are still on the sell. 4 minutes past 2 now, and we are seeing price come down quite a bit over the last few periods, and it has really taken the MACD line with it as well. If it carries on, it does certainly look like it's going to cross over zero. But if we see the awesome oscillator over here, it has actually moved above zero, which means currently it's indicating to us that only buy trades we can take. So unfortunately, even if this does cross zero, unless the awesome oscillator recrosses zero as well, that is not a trade we are able to take. Be interested to see what happens here. It's kind of awkward in this crossover period. If it does cross over, this is the first MACD over zero that we will have seen, and it's just darting towards there. If we get another red period or two, that is it. It will go over that line. And price has returned green the last few periods, and it's just stopping this crossover at the moment, but it's very close. And we're currently at 0.0. It's just gone under there actually. Where's it going to close? This is very close. And the MACD reading on that candle closed at 0.001. So the absolute minimum amount that it could have closed above the zero line. Here comes that close then, and it is going to be below the zero line on the MACD on the 5-minute chart, but it is above zero on the awesome oscillator on the hourly chart, which means no entry signal for us now. However, as I said, we can definitely now keep a lookout, see if we get a couple green candles like this, get that MACD line back above zero, get us into a buy trade. A few periods back, just for a second there, it did look as if it could have recrossed above that zero line, but now we see these big red candles come, and the MACD line gets dragged away. 3 o'clock will be interesting to see how the awesome oscillator responds. I think it would need quite a bit more downward pressure to not see this increase a little bit more still, but it could be near flat. This was quite a run up for it that it's still trying to chase over the last 7 hours or so. Yeah, so at the top of the hour there, 3 o'clock, even after seeing price come down and form a new low there, because remember the Awesome Oscillator is done on medium price, so it does matter that it's a low and not a close, but we still see the Awesome Oscillator strengthen a little bit there. And here does come the bounce. We have had a couple green candles there. It's going to test this mini resistance level. Let's see what happens. Could have a buy signal in the next couple periods here, or could not, you know. And we should see this crossover happen now, and we do. So all we've got to do is have this MACD line close over that zero, and then we are into that buy trade. Okay, 30 seconds until the close of this period then. Had reached quite a high there, but it's pulled back. Like to see it. MACD line still across from zero, so let's get that standard deviation indicator up. Currently showing 1.01, 1.02 right in that region. Let's see for the close here. There we go. We get the signal to enter, and we're going to go for 1.05 on the standard deviation. 3 times that is 3.15. You can see our risk calculated on screen now. Better get in before that price runs up too much. There we go. We're in the trades slightly off from one another, and the spread's pretty gnarly there, to be fair. I would have thought they'd be a little bit lower, but price already surging. Let's get in that take profit and stop loss. So that will be 315 for the loss and 315 for the profit there. And subtrade B, 315 there, and let's set that trading stop loss on again at 3 times standard deviation. And we are set to go. Similar story with the standard deviation. It jolts up and down so much. You've kind of just got to go about in the region where you think's a good number in the middle of it, because it jumped quite a bit to the start of the new period. As long as you are about there, the smallest differences shouldn't make the biggest differences in this instance. So far, looking good though. Pretty choppy out there, and price has managed to find its way right towards our stop loss, and you can see there how much that's dragged down ever so close there. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see it trigger this period for a complete loss. We had it nice there for a couple minutes just above the entry price, but now it is coming down. But you never know though. We have seen that last period close green in the end after that low came very close to the stop loss here. And now this candle currently a little bit green as well. Could see it on the rise. Let's hope. It's coming right back towards our stop loss though now, and it does look like it's going to trigger just like it did before. Now it's even closer. That's a new low. Can it pull back? Pull back again? No. Stop loss goes. So that is a complete loss there. Let's put it up on the trade history. And there it is. You can see we got in halfway through that green candle, got in a little bit of a run up, but then straight back down it comes. Thought we might have had a chance of the reversal here. That would have been really lucky had it come up just short and then carried on moving. But no, it does come down to that 3 standard deviation level and triggers both stop losses there. So that's $101.92 down for the day now. Let's see if this MACD line does recross below zero in the next few periods, or the price actually comes back up and keeps it above zero. Price had come back up against us, but continued a downward run. So we do see the MACD line cross over that zero. Likely going to close there at the end of this period in a few minutes. Still though, our Awesome Oscillator above zero, not a signal then we can take if it does close. And there is the close for that crossover beneath the zero MACD line. Looks like a lot stronger a cross than this one we saw back here, so that reverse signal could take a while to come, and we'll also be looking at how the Awesome Oscillator responds, whether that will cross zero. And it's just been 10 minutes since the stock market opened. We've seen quite an increase in volume and volatility on our gold chart. There's a lot of uncertainty in those markets around the Chinese property developer Evergrande, $300 billion in debt, and unfortunately cannot currently pay the bills that are due. So there is quite a bit of uncertainty about where that debt burden is going to land, or what the Chinese government is going to do, if they're going to step in or not. And so it's quite shaky over there. The MACD line just crossing over zero there. It didn't close over there, it closed slightly below. So we will get the buy signal though at 5:15 if it closes as is. I've got to say, if you're looking at this price action here on the 5-minute chart, I'm sure, like me, you would be very unexcited about this giving you an entry signal. Look at these whipsaws and this crazy volatility on this volume. 4 minutes until that potential close comes. This close is going to come in about 20 seconds or so. Let's get that standard deviation indicator up. So we're getting about 1.2. It's bouncing around there, 1.19. We're going to go for 1.2. So 3 times that is 360 points or 36 pips. And our risk is on screen now. Here we go. How optimistic am I for these entries? Unless we just happen to get lucky, completely lucky, and just catch a breakout to the north here, then there's a good chance the retracement gets us out eventually, or the whipsaw gets us out, whatever you want to call it. That's just my opinion, though. I don't want to be totally pessimistic. You never know, maybe a trailing stop will run for days and gold will go to 2,000 before any sort of 3 times standard deviation retracement. But enough rambling, let's set our stop loss and take profit. So on this one, we'll go 360 and 360. And here, you know the deal, it's a 360 stop loss and then a trailing stop loss of the same 360. When you're wrong though, huh? Look at this break right now on this candle. That is some movement we are seeing. It could just head immediately for our take profit. Buyers stepping into the market heavily here. See if it retraces or pushes on. What we'll do with a push like that as well is we will trail our stop loss already on here. So we'll shift it forward about a third or so, so from 360 to 240. So we see it bump up there. At least now we're not going to have a maximum loss. And it keeps pushing there. And there we go. That take profit kicks off. And so as our trailing stop loss gets in, you can see it just there. What a push this is from price over the last 5 minutes. These are the type of things very difficult to predict. And as I say, I think there's an element of luck there getting into that candle right before that giant run up there. Hey, pretty nice though. And if we can get more of that, keep this trailing stop loss moving up and up and up. Let's make back all of that money from the previous losing trade and a bit on top of that, why not? Good stuff. Pretty heavy retracement coming in this period. Could see that stop loss go. There does go the trailing stop loss then. Didn't manage to get as far as where we grabbed profits up here. But let's have a look on the history. $20.86. So about 2/5 of what we're able to take from subtrade A. But the important part is the fact that we have taken profit here. It didn't get back all of the losses from this morning, but we're now only $30 down for the day. So that is quite a bit healthier than it was before. Very pleased to see. Nearly coming up to 10 past 6 now. That retracement, where it called us out, price has moved on since then and has carried on up. Not too much further up, but a little bit. It's just started to range off now as the volume slowly dips off as we head into the evening. On the Awesome Oscillator, it continues to move further above the zero line with strong momentum behind it, particularly after that last candle now. That's going to start to kick in. So I think on that basis, we are going to be pretty far from an entry trade. So we will call that the end of the session. 1 win and 1 loss today. The loss was a little bit heavier than the win, so we are down money today. Still just about in profit overall. $47.92 up on our $10,000. We will be doing it for one more session tomorrow as well. The final session for the Awesome Mackerel strategy. Just after 20 past 10 on our final session. Bit of a volatile morning here. Looks like it could be settling into a downtrend now. If we look over on the hourly chart, could be that this was a test of the resistance level again right here that we've seen there and there. And now sellers stepping at that level to bring it back down into this range. Awesome Oscillator above zero at the moment, MACD crossed below. If we were here to take this buy trade, I think it's pretty unlikely that that would have been enough to take profit at 10 pips. So much more likely that we'd be taking a loss somewhere down here. Good to dodge that one. Let's see what's on the economic calendar. Okay, so still Mid-Autumn Festival in China and still Chuseok in Korea. So not much been going on in the Asian session. Did have in Europe at 9 AM on the Swiss franc, their trade balance. Coming in pretty much as forecast, to be fair, near enough. In just over 5 minutes time at 10:30, we've got from Sweden their unemployment rate, as well as the Riksbank interest rate decision and monetary policy report. Very unlikely to see interest rates rise, but would be fascinating if they did. And then that is it all the way through to 3:30, when we do get some US dollar numbers. We get current account, housing starts, and the building permits. We'll definitely want to see those come in, and there could well be impact trading gold against the US dollar. Certainly likely to see volatility at that time. Whether it puts into a particular trend for us or whether it's just a volatile range, we will have to see then. At the same time, we get the Canadian New Housing Price Index month on month. 5 o'clock on the New Zealand dollar, not too interesting to us, but the Global Dairy Trade Price Index. 5:30, ECB President Christine Lagarde is speaking. And then we've also got a supervisory board member from the ECB speaking at 7:15. Not expecting any major changes from those ECB speeches, mostly just reassuring verbiage. That's everything. Our key time then will be 3:30 p.m. All these US dollar numbers coming in. Currently though, with the Awesome Oscillator above zero, we'll be waiting for that zero line crossover on the MACD, which if we see a few more candles like this green one right here start forming, becomes a very real possibility. Let's see what we get today. A few minutes past 11 o'clock now. Price just sort of ranging, MACD line still below zero, although it is steadily coming up. We did get those Swedish numbers as well. Unemployment came in at 8.5% actual against a 9.2 forecast. The previous was 8%, so 8.5 actual is still getting higher, but certainly a good thing it didn't shoot all the way up to 9.2. And on the interest rate decision, held at 0%. No real surprise there. Back on the chart, we do see price making a move now. If price can close like that and we can get another one just like it, suddenly that buy trade looks very feasible. Few periods on here and we could be getting close. We're about to see a close here. Let's see where this MACD line moves to. It could definitely still pull up from where it is if we start to see red, but any more green candles and that crossover becomes near certain. And there comes the cross, just about, currently at 0.01213. If it closes like that, our signal is good to go. Awesome Oscillator, even though it's been coming down, still above zero. We are good for a buy trade if it comes now. We do have our standard deviation indicator pulled up. However, it doesn't look as though we're going to get the close just yet. A red candle comes and that MACD line, staving off the close there. Big green candle though coming through immediately after, and we are going to get that close in just a few seconds. Standard deviation bobbing up and down. We'll go for 0.76 there. We see it just ticks up on the new candle. Okay, so you can see our risk on screen now. This is 2 buy trades that we're going to be getting into. There are our trades then. Price took a little bit of bump, so we didn't get in at the same price. So here we are. Let's plug in that stop loss and take profit. Let's do it quick before this runs up here. So we're going to go 218 there and 218 there. And then we're going to pop 218 in there and then set our trailing stop loss as well. Put that at 218. Moving pretty nicely. Can we see our take profit? If we zoom out, we can. Looks quite far away at the moment, but price moving in our favor. And as price moves on here, let's take this stop loss here and trail it just a little bit. There we go. We can see it bounce up there, and hopefully price continues. Eventually that trailing stop loss will kick in automatically if we get far enough of price. It is looking like it really wants to push towards that take profit, getting close. And there it goes, our take profit triggers, trailing stop loss kicks into place. On the history, let's zoom in here. What a run up that was in the space of 2 candles. Remember, we're only about 30 seconds into this one. There's the trade there, $51.98 to the good. And price continuing to surge. We see our trailing stop loss move further. This is a really nice run to be in on. And it cracks on. Let's hope it can keep on going further and further. There goes the stop loss with it. Price just ranging around. It's hit that high price 3 times. So we're just waiting to see if it wants to break out now. It looks like it could, but you never know with price. It's a fickle thing. There's the break we want to see. Price on the move now. This is going to the good. The trailing stop loss coming for the ride. More guaranteed profit. And in fact, we are just about, if not a little bit past, that should do it, where our original trade took profit. And so now we're actually going to get more money out of this one, regardless of what happens, than we did from that first trade. 20 past 1 now, and we've just had 3 successive green candles, each of them pushing us into newer highs. Nothing crazy, but steadily ticking along in our favor and turned into a really nice trade. That retracement has arrived and it's getting very close to our stop loss here. And there it does go. Sadly our trade is over. But still, it was a pretty good one. As you can see, we got more profits out of it than we did our first sub trade. Let's have a look how much exactly. So we got to $82.11. Quite a good improvement, more than 50% on the $51.98. So obviously happy with that. Whether this retracement turns into a full reversal, we'll have to wait and see for that. But we do know that for now we are out with a winning trade though, and it's our only trade of the day. So currently we sit at $134.09. Any more like that would absolutely be appreciated. Price over the last hour, not really doing too much, staying in a range. That MACD line has been drifting towards the zero, but at the moment, nothing of real interest for us. And even if the MACD does cross zero, there's no signal from that, as of course the Awesome Oscillator is still above zero. And after a bit of a range there, price is really coming heavily into the markets here. Look at this push. 14 minutes past 3, this is coming. Interesting time. Wonder if it'll come back down or go higher. And it has come back down at the moment at least. Went all the way back into the range, but now comes up again. Difficult to know what's going to happen here. Very hard to predict. We're likely to see the highest volume candle of the day here, only 1.5 minutes into the 5-minute candle, and already it's creeping up to those levels. Look at this close we got from this candle there. Big green, and we are seeing a little bit more come from this one as well. MACD line surging. We are just under 5 minutes away from getting the numbers on the US dollar. That was the housing starts, the building permits, and the current account. Those numbers for the US dollar looking pretty good then. Housing starts actual just above 1.6 million, was forecast to be just below it. That's a month-on-month increase of 5.3%. So nice beat there on the housing starts. And then similarly with building permits, coming in at just over 1.7 million and forecast to be much nearer 1.6 million. So that's a 6% increase month on month compared to the forecast of negative 5.5. They'll be pretty pleased with that. However, their current account did miss by just a little bit. It was 190 billion under as opposed to the forecast of 186 billion. And to wrap off these numbers, the Canadian New Housing Price Index month on month came in at 0.7% compared to a forecast of 0.2%. House prices going up pretty quick there at the minute. We are no close to a signal, still seeing high volume, but I imagine that will come down over the next few candles, settle back close to this sort of level. About 30 minutes on now after that big move upwards there, price just very much ranging now, not wanting to do a lot. We could still see a breakout, volume is there in the market, but the buyers and sellers are still battling it out at the moment. See if we can get a winner. Time has just moved past 5:30 now. Price not really been moving much, has come to the upside a touch now though. That MACD line well above the zero level still. So I think extremely unlikely that we'll get a signal anytime soon. And also I have a low yield bond that's going to mature today, so I've got to pop out so I can go and collect the coupon for that. Which means we will finish the strategy there. Only had our one trade today, but it was all important as we got a lot of profit from it. And now we can hand it over to the journal to see how we've done as a whole on this strategy. After our final session, that is our journal there. And what a journal it is. You can see it plenty more green than red out there. Our final figure, $182.01 up, around about 1.82% on top of the $10,000 starting balance. That took 6 trades over 5 days. We're getting just above 1 trade a day, 4 winners and 2 losers. The MACD line did do a bit better than I thought it would, but maybe that was down to the standard deviation. Really grabbing some profits there. Not a lot of these actually held out. But it's interesting in comparison. Obviously, these losses were complete losses, but the gains, we had 2 trades where the trading stop loss didn't make more than the initial ratio trade, but then we had 2 that it did. On the 2 that it did, we got about $35 over, and on the 2 trades we didn't, it was about $60 under. So on that basis, on this very small sample size, you could say that ratio was a bit better, but there's certainly arguments to be made for both. Our trade today, what a trade. It was only 10 minutes until sub-trade A took its profit there. It did take a little while longer for it to run up and then come back for the trading stop loss. But yeah, that really took off quickly. Bit of luck there, but I'm sure we'll have our fair share of bad luck at some point too. On the whole, after 5 sessions of trading, if you're not losing money, then that's certainly a good thing. And the fact that we have managed to get some money out of this over time means that it can't be all bad, which is very different from it being good, but it can't be all bad. That's the journal then. I'll be up late tonight looking over that, staring into the green. So what is our last word on the Awesome Mackerel strategy then? We'll start by saying that the strategy is fairly simple to grasp, as there is nothing that's too complicated about the zero line crossovers for filtering or for entry signals we've applied here. There were only 2 elements of minor judgment that we had to use of our own accord. Firstly, as the standard deviation indicator reading tends to dart around, and because we'd like to settle on a value before the candle closes so that we can enter into the trade in a timely fashion, we had to use a touch of thought for the reading that we'd go for. If you do want to wait for the complete close of the candle and use the exact reading, or use the reading from the start of the new candle, both of those are completely viable options. Secondly, as we opted to use the trailing stop loss immediately from when we opened our trade, and because it won't automatically move until you get that far into profit, we did aim to move our stop loss manually forward about 1/3 of the distance each time the trade moved in our favor by about that amount. Sometimes having to use your own judgment instead of an automated system can lead to lapses in profit, but I think we managed this time to just about pull it off to an acceptable standard. And the Awesome Mackerel strategy did do okay for us. Looking at it from a purely results-based perspective, it did give us more winning trades than losing trades. In fact, it was twice as many, and we finished up 1.8% on our account balance after 5 sessions of trading. If this was in fact an accurate sample of the results that we could expect from the Awesome Mackerel strategy, then that would build up to be a very successful win rate over the course of a year. But I will say that in my unassuming opinion that it probably isn't as profitable as those results may suggest. We saw a couple trades that were outside of the sessions that we were trading on the back test, which likely would have been losses, so we were fortunate to avoid those. And I think over a longer period of time of trading that the win rate could come down to something around about a 50-50, which isn't terrible, but if the trailing stop loss doesn't work out, then you could end up with less average gains on your winning trades compared to the average loss on your losing trades. That being said, the results do show that the strategy is worth giving more testing to, just in case it does maintain that high standard of profitability. Let me know if you do trade it for a year and find yourself in the realm of 30% returns. Would really enjoy an undeserved cut of those profits. That is all though from the Awesome Mackerel strategy. If you are hankering down away from any kind of natural disaster and want to soothe your mind with more information on the indicators or strategy used here, then there is some more of that in the description. And the ultimate word of warning to remember is that this strategy was traded entirely with demo money. That's right, it is all faux. I'm not going to tell you what not to do though if you do want to trade this strategy leveraged up with credit. At the end of the day, you've got to do you. Thank you for watching. This is Project Trade. I am Adam Smith's final descendant. We will be back for more trading.